The 3 most controversial entrepreneur movies of all time. Hey, what's up? This is Pete here, and in this video, I want to share something a little bit different. Normally, this channel is about sales and marketing and growing your business, but for today, I thought, hold on a second, I feel like a movie. In fact, let's do 3 movies in one day, but have a little bit of a twist behind it as well. I know that there's inspiring movies like The Pursuit of Happiness, where Will Smith plays the role of Chris Gardner and how he is able to go from being homeless with his son to, in essence, becoming a highly successful stockbroker and starting his own brokerage firm. But today, I don't want to talk to you about that type of movie. Instead, we're going to look at 3 controversial movies that we can still take inspiration from. And don't get me wrong, we need to remove the liking bias, which is when we say yes to those people that we know and like. Because with these 3 movies, you're going to find out that these characters are not necessarily the most likable. So remove the liking bias. Let's still find out what we can learn from each of these 3 movies. Movie number 1. We can't start this list of controversial entrepreneur movies without mentioning The Wolf of Wall Street. If you haven't seen this movie already, then the chances are you've been living under a rock or you're at least off the grid. Because I think everybody who's watched a movie in their life has most likely seen The Wolf of Wall Street. Leonardo DiCaprio does an outstanding job of playing the crooked, convicted villain and now sales trainer Jordan Belfort. Unlike any other movie out there, it starts with Jordan Belfort going through some personal challenges. He got a big job with Wall Street and then he lost that job. And then he had to get a job in a small firm where he was able to use his sales skills to sell right away. With a combination of fate and meeting the right people at the right time, or I should say the wrong people at the wrong time, Jordan goes from selling penny stocks and making a great income to setting up his own organization, and guess what? The rest is history. The movie has every type of controversy you can ever imagine, from drugs to sex in the office to just pure outrageous behavior. But if we can see beyond the liking bias, there's actually so many great lessons within this movie. The first lesson that I love within The Wolf of Wall Street that isn't talked about enough is the sales blueprint that he creates for his team. So in essence, Jordan Belfort has figured out a way to sell like crazy, and he realizes that this can be replicated. So instead of him doing all the sales, he brings in his friends and a bunch of random people, to be fair, and says to them, this is the way that you need to sell. This is huge for anybody starting a business or wanting to grow their business. One of the things that keeps us stuck is we don't systemize the sales process. So the blueprint that Jordan Belfort creates, that should be done in any business. Yes, of course, with the right ethics and within integrity.
Why should they trust you? I mean, look at you, you're a bunch of sleazy salesmen, right?
But it's still one of my favorite scenes of that movie. Now, the next thing that's undeniable in this movie is that Jordan knows the market. Yes, he uses the market to manipulate. Yes, he has the wrong intentions, but knowing your market is everything. He says clearly, our market is wealthy Americans. We're gonna bring them in with blue chip stocks and then we'll unload the dog shit on them. Now, that isn't the way to do business, but knowing your market is key. So I love this message that's within the movie. And ultimately it shows when your message is right, when you know your market and you've got the tenacity to put yourself out there, you can grow a huge business. You don't have to grow a business that rips people off and scams them. In fact, you can grow a business that truly makes a difference and improves your market's lives for the better. So here's just a few great lessons within The Wolf of Wall Street. Next up is The Founder. Now this is another controversial true story, this time about Ray Kroc, or Crook, who, believe it or not, was a burnt out milkshake machine salesman from Illinois who met Dick and Mac, who were the founders and the creator of the entire system of McDonald's.
One word: persistence.
He came across them by chance when he was trying to sell his milkshake machines, and he was blown away with the system that they had created. But unfortunately, things didn't move quickly enough when he partnered with them, so that's when things started to get out of control, and ultimately, Ray took over the business. And despite Ray's efforts to renegotiate with Mac and Dick, they just weren't budging. So this led Ray down a different path where Mac and Dick were not in his plans. Now, the first entrepreneurial lesson which stands out for me in The Founder is the system. The system that McDonald's is still famous for today. And you can speak to a McDonald's team member, and whatever their opinion about working for McDonald's is, the one thing they cannot deny is that the system is flawless. Most people, when they're starting or they've been in business for 20 years, do not put systems in place. And when they do, they can easily be broken. Where Ray initially saw the opportunity with McDonald's is saying, hey, this is a system. All you need to do is replicate that system again and again.
Stick, marking where all the equipment should be.
Tuck in.
Tony, are you gonna skip the pickles when we're really doing it?
The second and most famous scene from the movie is where Ray Kroc by chance bumps into Harry Sunnyborn. And he says, "You're not in the burger business.
You're in the real estate business. You don't build an empire off a 1.4% cut of a 15-cent hamburger. You build it by owning the land upon which that burger is cooked."
This is such a valuable lesson for all entrepreneurs because what it teaches us is to think outside of the box. Sometimes we think we're in one type of business, but actually the real opportunity is something else in our business which could be literally right under our nose. The third big takeaway from this movie is the power of branding. Sure enough, Ray could have stolen the idea from the original founders and gone and tried to set it up by himself, but he identified that McDonald's was a brand. The name mattered, the Golden Gates mattered. It was American and it was something to be trusted.
It's not just the system, Dick. It's the name.
Even though Ray Kroc may have been a crook, I don't think with all the support in the world, the original founders would have ever built McDonald's to even 1% of what it is today. It took Ray to see the vision and have the persistence to make it happen. And our final controversial entrepreneur movie for today is The Social Network. The Social Network is Hollywood's take on the creation of Facebook. And it probably cuts a lot closer to the truth than Mark Zuckerberg would like you to believe. And that is especially according to the Winklevoss twins who came up with the idea for Facebook, not Mark Zuckerberg.
You know, that's what the Facebook is going to be about. People are going to log on because after all the cake and watermelon, there's a chance they're actually going to get laid, meet a girl.
Now, despite the fact the movie is full of controversy and Mark basically exits his best friend from the company completely, the movie still holds so many valuable lessons. The first lesson that I love is just the sheer amount of commitment and consistency shown by the Facebook team, even when they were just renting a home. They had coders 24/7 working behind the scenes, so Facebook was never down. It was so insightful for Mark to recognize that early on, that when a website went down, that you would lose that momentum and that following that you've built. So to overcome this, sure enough, they all lived in a crazy party house, but the work always came first. The second lesson that I absolutely love, and I do respect the younger Mark Zuckerberg for this decision, is to focus on community first and not worry about chasing the money. I think so often when we're starting a business, we're thinking, I need the money, I need the money. And the problem is, as the founder or the CEO of your own business, if you're hungry all the time, then it means that your business isn't going to be able to eat. Don't get me wrong, you've got to be able to eat, you've got to be able to have a roof over your head, but focus on the vision, stay true to the long term. That is one of the key decisions that Mark made at a very young age that ultimately created the Facebook that we see today. The third lesson that stands out for me in this movie is that no matter how hard you try, you will not convince everybody, and some people will try to stop you. And there's a great scene at the end of the movie where Mark Zuckerberg is now a billionaire, and I believe it's his lawyer or his colleague says it's just a parking ticket. Once again, whether you are for or against Mark Zuckerberg, there is so much creative genius within this movie and so many business lessons along the way. So there you have it, the 3 most controversial entrepreneur movies of all time. Well, maybe all time. Maybe you can think of another movie below, let me know, and let me know the other business lessons which are in this movie. So comment below, I'll be replying to all those comments and I'll see you in the next video.